So this is going to be a moveset guide to special offense. Um, for those who are wondering why this is on a completely different channel, it is because I forgot the email to the last one that I used, because I'm an idiot. Now, it's been a while since I've actually made a video. A lot has changed in the meta since I made one. The last one that I made was in 2024. And since 2024, there's been like a whole speed pass ban. Registeel usage has gone up. There's like a whole new style around that. Other than that, not much else has really changed with the meta as a whole. I guess like stall is a bit down right now. You're not seeing as much duck stall as you did like a few months ago. Like back at the beginning of the year, duck stall was kind of crazy. Now it's winding down a bit. So I'm gonna get right into it. So if we're talking about special offense, you got to talk about Duck Trio, because without Duck Trio, it's not special offense anymore, it's mixed offense. What makes it special offense is there is a Duck Trio, and there is a Zapdos. Now, a year ago, when I made my my updated guide to special offense, I said that that bulky Doug was mandatory. It actually isn't. There are 3 different Dougs that I've been using on ladder specifically, and all 3 of them work. And all 3 of them have different advantages and disadvantages. Now, this first set we're going to go over is considered like the normal Doug trio, or like base Doug, which is max speed, max attack, jolly nature. So what this Doug lets you do is it lets you revenge kill Starmie, lets you revenge kill Raikou, you revenge kill +1 DD-Tar, although I will say about DD-Tar, DD-Tar rarely ever runs max speed anymore. Almost every single DD-Tar that I've seen in like recent tournaments, which is like the Mugulus Tour and like circuit finals and semifinals, like the top 16 of the tour, every single DD-Tar that I saw had bulk, so that's like 248, 84 attack, rest and speed, so that's like 201 tar. So when it DDs, it goes around like base 300 speed, like around there. So none of those tar are nowhere near max speed. All of them always have bulk. And sometimes they use Lumberry. Most of the time they use Leftovers. Sometimes they use Lum. But they never go max speed anyway, because they want to try and hit +2. And just outrun everything anyway. So it's pretty rare to come across a max speed tar where the speed would actually be relevant. But you still have to respect it. Oh, also, this Doug lets you outrun Endeavor Swampert, which is everywhere right now, and pert usage is sky high because of the mixed offense that's getting used. So being able to outrun that is key. There's a lot of very key targets that this Doug trio traps that is getting used on mixed offense, because the styles, for whatever reason, people just think it's okay to disrespect Doug trio, even though that people know that it's borderline broken. And that's kind of why this Doug is starting to get good again. Also, Jolly Doug is obviously stronger than the bulkier variation of Doug Trio. Which is why it tends to be better. The only real substantial thing that bulky Doug does is that it traps Bliss. And it traps Bliss without dying a lot of the time. Of course, Bliss can crit you and, you know, status stall you if you're not careful. Like, if you have too many, like, low attacking stats on your team, Bliss can actually stall bulky Doug trio. I've had it happen to me a few times. But traditionally, the reason why you would run bulk on Doug is so you can trap Blissey and maybe even trap something else after the fact. You're not running bulky Doug really for anything else, because running bulky Doug actually detracts from being able to trap other stuff. Like, you can no longer trap Off Me or Raikou if you use Bulky Doug. So there is a pretty substantial disadvantage to running it. But at the same time, you almost have to run it sometimes. It's especially useful versus like certain stall teams where you absolutely have to take out the Bliss. But usually, Jolly Doug is better. Now, there is a bit of a compromise between both, and that is Adamant Doug Trio. So what Adamant Doug Trio does is the main purpose of this Doug isn't actually to trap Blissey, believe it or not. Although it can do that, and it hits Blissey really hard with EQ. The main purpose of this Doug Trio is to trap Celebi, because there are special offense structures that you would build around the idea of trapping Celebi. That way, you could use stuff like Crocoon a lot easier. There's a ton of things that get in it. Even like just weakening Bliss, not even killing Bliss, just weakening Bliss to the point where it's only at like 20 HP or 30 HP, and it can no longer survive like a Crocoon Surf or whatever. That's massive. That's absolutely massive. That means that the Bliss user has to gamble every time that they try to check the Coon or your Rachi. So that's what this Doug Trio does. This Doug Trio is meant to completely felt the Celebi and the Jirachi that they have, because this was also really good at killing Rachi. Spadef Rachi just dies to this. Even like a Bold Rachi always gets to a KO'd by this. Also, this Doug Trio is very good at trapping T-Tar, because T-Tar can live Jolly, it cannot live Adamant. Adamant will just kill Tar, straight up. So this is really good at removing Tyranitar, specifically, and Celebi. And that enables a bunch of, like, unique strategies to special offense. There's a lot that you could do with it. And this particular thing is very unexplored. And I think it has a lot of potential to break the game. But it obviously still has, like, the same downsides. Like, you can't trap Off Me, you can't trap Raikou, so you'll have to compensate for those two elsewhere. And of course, we have to talk about the other aspect of special offense, which is Zapdos. So, you cannot build the special offense team without this thing. It's called Zap Doug for a reason. Because it's so good that you literally won't be able to build a team without it. It would be so much worse, because Zapdos' defensive profile does so much. The fact that it checks all of the waters, and it switches into Skarm. So, the stall staples of ADV consist of the bulky waters, Skarmory, or Fori. Those two are the faces of stall. Stall's going to have either one of them. A Blissey, sometimes even another special wall like Zapdos. There's a misconception that having multiple special walls automatically beats special offense, when in reality that's far from the truth. Poorly built special offenses will get felted, and I've used a ton of poorly built special offenses in the past, and still won, by the way. I've also lost a ton with them, too. But if you build a special offense team well enough, they're going to get felted if you know how to play the matchup. And Zapdos is a big part of why that's the case, because it threatens everything. And the things that it doesn't immediately threaten, it could baton pass into something that does. Either the BKC tar that you have, or your meta, or just your Doug Trio. This thing enables everything, while also getting enabled by its teammates too. So let's talk about the sets. So, every Zapdos that you use on special offense should have bulk. This spread in particular lives offensive Suicune Ice Beam. It lives Choice Band Salamence as Rock Slide, so it always lives +1 Mensa's Rock Slide. Always does at full HP. This set also always lives BKC Tar's Rock Slide. So BKC Tar Rock Slides you. I'm pretty sure you live, or it's a roll to live, but you still live comfortably. And like defensive Gengar, you can take hits from Gengar a bit better as well. So the bulk is really good. The bulk also serves another purpose in that it makes the substitutes bulkier. So something like Claydol can't just spam Psychic and break the sub. The sub will actually be able to tank Claydol Psychic with the bulk. And even some other like attacks too. Like I've seen Zapdos be able to take like Blissey T-Bolts. I think it has to be bold for it to do that though. But like Bold Bliss, if it tries to use a move that is an Ice Beam or Seismic Toss, I think Zapdos will actually eat the hit pretty comfortably. The speed stat 270 is very important because it outruns two different things. It outruns Off-Kun, and it outruns Heracross. Those are massive things to outrun. It also outruns Magneton, Metagross. It outruns Adamant Metacam, although most Metacam run plus speed nature anyway. They never go Adamant. Specifically because it's faster than Off-Kun and 270 Zapdos. The other spread that I have here is this. So, something that most people might not know is that Skarmory tends to not die to 270 Zapdos' Thunderbolts. It always lives. But Modest Zapdos, Max Modest Zapdos, has a chance to just kill Skarm outright. The other thing that this spread lets you do is it lets you beat Suicune 1v1 no matter what. So a lot of the times if you run like a timid Zapdos or like a weaker Zapdos, and you try to 1v1 a defensive Suicune can actually beat the Zapdos, just straight up. But let's say if Zapdos comes in on like a Bold Kun at like 100% health, it sets up a Calm Mind, you hit it, it sets up another Calm Mind, and then tries to rest it. Modest Zapdos will actually beat the Suicune, like Max Modest Zapdos will just straight up beat the Kun. Kun cannot beat Max Modest Zapdos in a 1v1. And like frailer Suicunes, like, most Crocoon, they're not faring much better either. And also, every time that they rest and they're doing the sleep talk shit, they have to get good RNG, and they have to deal with Zapdos' pressure as well. So that's what this is what this spread does. It's basically designed to be better into stall, because it does more damage to Claydol, it does more damage to Bliss, it does more damage to it does more damage to everything. So if you want a Zapdos that's better into stall, you would use this. Now here's the thing, you don't have to run Substitute, not at all. Same with like Hidden Power Grass. So Hidden Power Grass is obviously just used to Felt, Swampert, and Quagsire, because Quagsire does get used. But you can run HP Ice, because defensive Flygon is actually very annoying for Special Offense, and here's why. Let's say you're fighting Superman, right? Flygon comes in to check your Zapdos, you are trying to trap the Bliss. But the Flygon is there to block that. Flygon can reliably come in on Zapdos and shut that down. But if you have Hidden Power Ice, the Flygon will die if it tries to check you. So it makes the trapping Bliss thing easy. Also, there's more reward for trapping Bliss in that scenario. Because the Bliss will try to come in. You trap the Bliss, and later on in the game, when they have no other choice but to use Flygon to check you, Flygon gets felted. It's dead. And then once Flygon is dead, it's going to be way harder for Skarn to get its spikes and pressure. It's going to be way harder for the defensive Jirachi or the T-Tar to do anything. And it starts this domino effect where they're going to lose to you. The same goes for, like, the Mag teams that use Gon, too. The ones that use more offensive Flygon. Because offensive Flygon is actually more threatening than defensive Flygon because you can't touch it, for one. But it could touch everything else on your team, and it's actually very dangerous for Spec Off, because Spec Off tends to have slower Pokemon, ironically enough. This is part of why Gengar is so good, because Gengar kind of shits on that entire strategy. And Gengar on its own is very good in Spec Off. But if you're not running Gengar, for example, and you need to be able to be good in the Flygon, HP Ice felts it. Also, HP Ice lets Zapdos function as a DD Mens check without running T-Wave. So you could still have the sub Zapdos and have HP Ice. That also means that you can sub and block Celebi Leech Seed, and felt it with HP Ice. So there's that entire aspect of it too. If you have a BKC Tar, there are tons of ways that you could ruin defensive Celebi on Spec Off. You could trap it, you can go into your BKC Tar and felt it, you could felt it if you're Zapdos, or you could use your own Celebi, as long as they don't have Parasong, which I think most of them do now, specifically to avoid that from happening. Now, these aren't the only Zapdos sets that you can run, and even these have a variation to it. Like I said, like you could run HP Ice. You don't have to run Substitute. T-Wave is really good too. So what T-Wave lets you do is it lets you felt Jolteon and Gengar, because Jolteon is actually a big pain in the ass for Special Offense, because it switches in your electric types over and over again. But if you paralyze it, there's a lot more wiggle room to play around it. That being said, you could like beat Jolt without T-Wave. It's just a bit more annoying. And also, if you T-Wave Jolt, that gives you wiggle room to trap it too. So there's that. T-Wave also lets you T-Wave Gengar. You can T-Wave non-Lumberry DD Tar, which is very useful. You could T-Wave DD Ments. You could T-Wave Agility Metagross. There's a lot of applications for T-Wave, and it's specifically good versus offense. I remember Ferdazi said something earlier today about status being specifically good versus stall. I don't believe that is really true, at least in the case of Special Offense. In the case of Spike's teams, I agree, because usually the status move is Toxic rather than T-Wave. But in the case of Special Offense, you're usually good into stall anyway, and in that case, you would prefer Substitute. But Sub is good versus certain offensive teams too, but T-Wave has its own applications. Toxic is probably the one that's the most niche, because the things that are coming in on Zapdos on Special Offense tend to be things that don't really care about Toxic, because the whole thing of Special Offense is you're trying to win as fast as possible. So Toxic, which takes multiple turns to like rev up damage and appreciates like the spikes, that's not going to be as good. Whereas the immediate crippling effect of T-Wave would be. But irregardless, Substitute tends to be the best option. You could run some like really weird niche stuff, like Metal Sound is decent. Like Metal Sound, particularly if you're afraid of Rest Snorlax. If you use Metal Sound versus Rest Snorlax is felted. Okay? It's not going to be able to beat you. Other than that, I guess you could run Mix too. Mix Zapdos is a particular interest on Special Offense. Let me actually create a spread for Mix Zapdos. So, what Mix Zapdos does on Special Offense is rather unique. It's about the same speed, like 270. I like to creep to 271. And then, oops. Usually I make it, what is this, Lonely? Yeah, Lonely Nature. And, you know, the set is like T-Bolt, Drill Peck, HP Grass, and T-Wave. And what this lets you do is that this... So let's just say you're using Jolly Dog, right? Jolly Dog comes in, traps Bliss. Bliss is at 30-something, right? It switches out to try and come in on Zapdos later on. But Zapdos is mixed, and Blissey is felted. Blissey's completely felted. This also means that you could run HP Grass Zapdos and felt Hera, you felt Breloom, you felt Celebi. All those Pokemon are done. So there's a lot less pressure on T-Tar and Dugtrio to check those, because Zapdos itself can actually completely destroy them. You do sacrifice the bulk, obviously, for like the attack, but it is a pretty good compromise because it completely flips like the meta champ. There's also like something to say about the EVs too. Like, if you wanted to, you could go all the way up to 285 and just have this much special attack. There is a risk that you take doing this, though, and that's your T-Bolts obviously hit a lot less, but if you hit 280, you're outrunning Modest Moltres and you're outrunning Medicham. Medicham is pretty niche, and you don't really see it outside of the lead slot. So 271 is probably fine. I want to try and have as much special attack as possible. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Having this little special attack is a risk, because now you're getting... you're running the risk of losing to stuff like Suicune late game. We were talking about that earlier. So you do have to take that in mind if you use this on Special Offense. You do have to consider Suicune. So... that's it on Zapdos. Next, we're going to be talking about T-Tar. So, the biggest breakthrough that I found on Special Offense is that BKC Tar is really, really, really good because it checks everything that is problematic for the style. And also, it is an amazing sub-pass recipient, because it resists Body Slam, so it gets a free Focus Punch on Snorlax. It completely just destroys Calm Mind Celebi and Calm Mind Jirachi. It does a ton of stuff by this existing. It's really, really, really good. And those qualities make it particularly very good for Special Offense, because it does a lot. It contributes a very large attack stat to beat up, too. And it also gives you Sand. Now, you might think Sand is actively detrimental because it takes away from Zapdos recovery, Suicune recovery. That is true. But what I'll say about that is it also detracts from the stuff that is usually problematic for Special Offense, like Snorlax. Snorlax is the biggest one, and Regice. There is nothing that Regice hates more than bulky Tyranitar, because it just comes in over and over and over and over again and just felts it. And there's nothing that the Regice team can do. Those teams fucking hate T-Tar. Because of the Sand and because of its power, because it has all those opportunities. So it is super, super, super good Gloomon. Excuse me. And I think that as time goes on, as we get into 2026, we're going to be seeing a lot of BKC Tar in Special Offense, or at least we should, because it's a super good Gloomon. Some might ask, like, if there's, like, possibility of variation on T-Tar sets. I unfortunately don't really think so, because the whole thing with T-Tar is that it's supposed to check, like, Raikou, Celebi, Jirachi, Snorlax. It's supposed to be checking a bunch of shit. And running the other sets actively detracts from that. So, like, a DD-Tar, you could... Now, here's the thing. You could do, like, some super big brain thing and, like, run Sub-Tar, for example. Like, the Viltar shit. But that, in my opinion, is a bit more niche, and you have to give up a move slot. BKC, all of BKC's move slots are very important. Like, you want Focus Punch to do damage to Pert, that's very important. Especially because Pert is usually geared to live like a hit from Zapdos. If you Focus Punch it, that means that the Pert isn't going to be able to switch comfortably into Zapdos later. It's got to do a bunch of pivoting bullshit to be able to do that. And you could take advantage of that with Substitute and shit. So it sets up your Zapdos very well and your other Pokemon very well. It's perfect. I don't think you want to experiment that much with this sort of T-Tar. That being said, you could probably run different Tar variations. For example, I don't think Pursuit Tar would be too bad on Special Offense. Because the thing with Pursuit Tar is, like, Gengar tends to be a pain in the ass for the style, right? And if you want to run something like Offensive Swampert, which is threatened by Gengar, you could use Pursuit Tar and Felt it. The same thing with, like, Fire types. If Moltres tries to Felt you, you can Felt it with Pursuit Tar. Same thing with, like, Starmie. You could use it to threaten the Starmie. So, I think Pursuit Tar has talents for the style for sure. But that is more experimentative, and I haven't really played around with it too much. I think Pursuit Tar has potential on the style. I just don't know the depths of how good it is compared to BKC Tar, which is this amazing glue Pokemon, as I said. Next, we're going to talk about, like, the rock resist Pokemon on Special Offense, which is Metagross and Purr. Now, what I'm immediately going to say is that I think Metagross is a lot better than, like, Tank Purr. Tank Meta is way better. Or at least, like, a bulky CB is. Because you want Metagross to still be able to hit Skarm harder on the Switch, or just be able to nuke it from existence. Whereas Purr, I think in order for Swampert to be viable in Special Offense, it needs to be able to use the speed stat. So, older players might recognize this set as the I think it's like the UD Pert that has max speed, max special attack, and this set kind of died out after a while, at least on Spike's teams. But I honestly think this is the way to make Pert viable on Special Offense, because the biggest problem with Swampert is it's unable to prevent Skarm from setting up all of these hazards and status and bullshit. But if you have, like, high speed, you completely felt it. Because you hydro it again, and then it gets one layer, and then that's it. You limit it by a ton. The problem with this, though, is that Starmie destroys you now, and so does every mixed attacker in the game. You lose, like, the mixed wall utility of Pert, but you're outrunning, like, slower Tar. You outrun Blissey, like always. You outrun most Metagross, too. So, this set definitely has utility. It's just, you have to rely more on, like, your Gengar. I honestly think that you should only use the set if you have a Gengar. Or you have, like, a really bulky Zapdos and, like, an electric type like Jolteon. That way, you don't have to worry about HP Grass as much. But, you could also use N-Pert too, I think. Wait, is this? Oh, okay. I was worried that it was shutting off, because I really like the soundtrack. Anyway, you could also use N-Pert too. I think N-Pert has a lot of potential, because it still checks DD Tar super well, because DD Tar hits you, and you outrun it. And it's pretty rare for Tar to go for a second DD on Pert. It's very rare for it to try and do that, unless if it's, like, fishing for, like, a miss or some shit, you know? But N-Pert will turn the tables on Tar, and then it's outrunning, like, Ments and shit. Most people run Phase on this, but I would honestly argue that specifically on Special Offense, right? Special Offense. You're already trapping stuff like Blissey. So you might not, and like Celebi and shit in the Recover Pokemon. So you might not even need Roar as much, because you could just Dug them. So Ice Beam might honestly have more utility because you're now outrunning the Salamence and the other bullshit. If, like, Mensch tries to come in on you and felt your Endeavor shit, well, it's just gonna get Ice Beamed. It's felted. Same with Zapdos. So I honestly think Ice Beam makes more sense on Special Offense. And when it comes to, like, Mixed Offense doesn't have to worry about it as much because it could just phase the stuff around, and it has time to do that. Or it could just boom past its problems. Here, you could forcibly remove it, and it's not going to be that big of an issue. So, I honestly think Ice Beam and Pert is good here. Next would be Mixed Meta. So, Mixed Meta does have utility over Jirachi. For one specific reason. And that's Explosion. Explosion is really busted, especially with Doug Trio. Now, here's the thing. I would only really run this meta if you have a lot of very strong reinforcement for mixed attackers, right? So you have a Suicune and a Gengar, and you have, you know, the Zapdos. Those are basically, those three together are going to felt mixed vents, and, like, Zard. I just lost my train of thought, I'm an idiot. And what this also lets you do is that versus specific, like, TSS builds, completely felted. And, like, if the Pert tries to fight back, you are eventually going to get into Salic range, and now you outrun, like, the Fire type, or, like, their Gengar. So, I like the Salic Berry. I don't know off the top of my head what speed stat it actually hits. I'll actually look it up right now. Specifically with plus special attack. I know normal meta outruns Doug Trio. The Salic variation. Let's see. Damage calc. I'm gonna look it up really quick. I probably should have done this before the video, but I'm an idiot. Alright, let's see. Meta. Mixed. Okay, so Metagross hits 357. So it does outrun, like, Gengar and all of those guys, which is really cool. I'd say that's pretty good utility. I don't think the leftovers matter as much. Salic, but you could of course run leftovers on it, but Salic is just, like, a cool option. This is a bit out of order, but we're going to talk about Celebi next. I hate Celebi because it feels like such a liability versus with Special Offense. Here's the thing, though. You are enticed to use it, though, because what else are you going to lose? Are you just going to get felted by Zapdos and Gengar and all of those Pokemon? No. But at the same time, Celebi sucks because it's a Calm Minder that loses to Bulky Tar. It's a Calm Minder that gives T-Tar a Dragon Dance. It is a Calm Minder that can't beat Mence. And it's a Calm Minder that is revenge killed by Doug Trio and Arrow, which is something that Suicune doesn't suffer from. But you're going to use Celebi because you have to. Because what else are you going to use? Celebi has, like, one of the best defensive profiles in the game. It's still a very big threat, but it's just so much more significantly flawed than Suicune and Jirachi, which don't really have, like, as many issues. I mean, Jirachi has, like, these same issues too, but Jirachi is sand immune, and Jirachi resists Rock Slide, so it can actually switch into Arrow, which Jirachi can't do, or Celebi can't do. Celebi wishes it can do that shit. As for the set, Calm Mind 3 attacks is the set that I live by. I do not believe in BP Celebi on Spec Off. The reason why, there's always going to be a situation where you want Psychic or you want Giga Drain. Like, imagine for a moment that you click Calm Mind and then you're felted by a Spadef Zapdos. That's gay. That's bad. You don't want to get felted by that. That is, you look like a moron if you lose to if your Celebi loses to that. But if you have Psychic Fire, you're then felted by like a Last Mon Pursuit Tar, which is just as bad, if not worse. So, just run 3 attacks. So you never, and also, Psychic Fire gets walled by Starmie. LOL. I've had games where I've lost the Starmie because of that fucking shit. Calm Mind Pass is overrated anyway. Because the only good Calm Mind Pass recipient is Swampert, and we already talked about Pert's issues. That being said, Calm Mind 3 attacks, I think, is the best thing that you could run. And I do think, like, if you're gonna run Calm Mind Pass, you should use Pert. Also, I like Timid, because Timid Celebi outruns Moltres, it outruns all of the Pokemon that sit at 299, outruns all that shit. And it also outruns Modest Celebi. You don't have to mess around with speed ties. You are weaker, but, you know, you're faster than, like, everything else. That's all I have to say about Celebi. It's a good mon, but it's pretty flawed. I also skipped over Suicune. Let's talk about Suicune. So, this is one of the other non-negotiable slots on Special Offense. I think you could get away with dropping a Rock Resist on Special Offense. It's risky. It's very risky, in fact, but I think you could do it. You just have to have the balls to do it. You still need, like, a Rock Resist for, like, Arrow. So, like, if your team was, like, Fast Dug Jirachi, that's fine, I think. You just have to be mindful of, like, DD Tar. And there will be scenarios where back DD Tar's gonna felt you because you don't have, like, a proper Rock Resist. That being said, there are advantages to using Rachi over a Rock Resist. But no matter what the case is, you're going to use Suicune. You know why you're going to use Suicune? Because there is no other water type that does what it does. And there's no other water type that's really as threatening and as bulky as Coon. That's like the biggest thing of Suicune. Suicune is a massive offensive threat, and it also has the bulk to actually take hits, unlike the other waters. And the other waters that could do what Suicune does, it does it worse. Significantly worse. Like, you're not using Slowbro on Spec Off, right? Like, in theory, you could, but it would just be way worse than Suicune. In, like, every single possible way. Now, the set details are very simple. It's off-Coon. This outruns every meta, every DD Tar, every... DD Tar without the DD, obviously. It outruns Magneton. It outruns Defensive Jirachi. It outruns a ton of stuff. And it's got the coverage, the completely felt, all of them. HP Grass is the standard because it lets you destroy Swampert without relying on Hydro accuracy. And it has to be Hydro Pump, unfortunately. I have experimented with Surf in the past, and Surf is good, but you have to set up the +1 for Surf to be good. Obviously, once you set up the +1, T-Tar is felted. Pretty much everything else is felted. And it does suck to have to use an inaccurate move like Hydro Pump, but let me tell you, Special Offense is the easiest style in the world to run 100% accurate moves. The only moves that you have to run that are inaccurate are Tyranitar's Rock Slide, because what are you going to use? Ancient Power? You could run Ancient Power, which would be stupid, but you could do it. Or you could run Surf. And the reason why Surf is worse is because you can't OHKO DD Tar with Surf. Whereas with Hydro Pump, you can. And also, +1 Hydros destroy everything. If there's like a Metagross that's even... If a meta is at 60%, that meta is dead. It's not living that. Unless if it is Protect, in which case it could live. But if it doesn't have Protect, that Metagross is dead. Also, some people might be thinking, why not run Timid Suicune? That's what it does in DPP. Here's the thing. In DPP, there are Pokemon, like, that Timid outruns. Like Heatran, like Rotom. I think Rotom... Actually, no, Max Speed Rotom still outruns you. You do outrun, like, Bulky and Modest Rotom, though, with Timid. And you outrun Lucario with Timid. So, Timid actually has use in DPP. In ADV, you outrun Medicham, LOL, and you outrun 270 Zapdos, which is actually good. And you outrun Modest Molt. Who cares? Moltres is taking Timid Nature anyway. Every Moltres on the planet runs Timid Nature now. It doesn't run Modest anymore. Specifically because of Jolly Hera. Oh, and I guess you tied Jolly Hera. LOL. It's Jolly Hera. Who cares? So, Timid is bad. But, if you are paranoid about 270 Zapdos, you can run Timid and Felt it. You're kind of self-felting because your Hydros are going to do no damage to meta and it's going to kill itself. And you're going to do no damage to Pert. But at least you got the W on 270 Zapdos, right? Don't run Timid. It's bad. The next is Crocoon. So, Crocoon in particular has a lot of interest because you can trap Calm Mind Bliss, which is the biggest roadblock to the set. Unfortunately, you get felted by Roarcoon, but there are other ways to deal with Roarcoon than Special Offense. For one, if you manage to trap the Bliss, you can boom the Suicune. If you have Metagross, you can then boom the Suicune. Obviously, that's hard, because there's going to be a Skarmory that wants to felt the meta, and usually it's Skarmory that gets boomed on and not Coon. But if the Skarm is already dead... Although, in this imaginary world where you already trapped Bliss, you probably already won anyway. And also, if they have Milo, they lose. So, whatever. But the benefits of running Rescoon are that you don't automatically die to status, so you completely felt the otherwise very annoying utility pert, which is Toxic Protect, Surf, Refresh, which is very annoying, Refresh or Roar. That pert's very annoying for Spec Off because Spec Off tends to not have the best status absorbers. And status absorption is very important. Whereas Crow obviously doesn't really care about that as much because it can just rest and felt the pert. And also, Crocoon completely annihilates Superman builds. If you manage to kill the Spadef Zapdos, they lose to Crocoon. Because their defensive Jirachi can't beat it, their Pursuit Tar sure as hell can't beat it, and their bold Mono Bliss is dead. So, this destroys the Big Five bullshit in Superman. Completely and utterly annihilates it off the face of the earth. But you do lose, like, some utility. Like, you can't check DD Ments anymore, so you have to compensate that elsewhere. You have to run Adamant Dugtrio to remove Celebi. If you're going to run this on Special Offense, you need Adamant Dugtrio. So you have to compensate for Raikou and Off-Me elsewhere. So you do have to consider that. Obviously, Crocoon can beat Off-Me rather easily once you get enough Calm Minds. But you still have to consider that. That's all on Suicune. Next is Jirachi. So, Jirachi is a pretty natural fit on Special Offense. If you do not run meta, and you have, for example, like Zap T-Tar per this thing, Rachi is pretty good. The thing is, though, is that Rachi wants a lot of electric absorbers. So Rachi likes getting paired with Jolt, it likes getting paired with Regice, stuff like that. Stuff really good into electric types. And obviously things that could lure T-Tar. If you have the T-Tar and like electric issue nailed down, like this thing is amazing. The only thing that really threatens it is Dugtrio. But there really isn't much you can do about Dugtrio. It is Jirachi. It's awesome. It's a really fast mon with really good utility. There isn't much to say about it. It's Jirachi. It does Jirachi things. Alright. And next we're going to talk about Raikou. And at the same time, we're going to talk about Jolteon too. So, Raikou is a pretty natural fit on the Special Offense, and it's very good. But here's a hot take that I have for the viewers out there. I don't think Timid Raikou is it. I think Timid Raikou is kind of mid. I think Modest Raikou is the way to go. And hear me out. The reason why you want Modest is specifically because the best checks to Raikou are Claydol, BKC Tar, and, you know, things that hit it with EQ. And Raikou often comes up short against those things, but if you have Modest, that's no longer the case. And if you're running an Adamant Dugtrio, or you're running a Dugtrio, period. So this is actually where, like, Fast Dugtrio actually comes in. So if you pair Raikou with Celebi, and you lure the Dugtrio early in the game, and you remove it, that opens the door for, like, trapping Bliss or whatever later. You trap Bliss later, because Bliss is going to kill Fast Dug no matter what, right? But you trap it, and then you lure it, like, later on in the game. Bliss dies. The Dug and the Bliss are dead, so Raikou is going to felt the Dug stall later. And against Special Offense, it's like the same principle. You lure Dug with Celebi, you remove it, and then later on, Raikou is going to go completely nuts. This is actually a principle that P2 teams use, but I prefer to do it with Dugtrio because P2 is a pretty flawed Pokemon in and of itself. I think Fradazi recently made like an RMT on Smogon specifically about P2. If I find it, I'll link it in the description. But for all intents and purposes, I think Raikou is like the best offensive electric that you could use. I honestly think that you do want Modest. Because while you do get outrun by, like, fast Boomgar, a lot of Gengar nowadays are going a bit slower. Like, they hover around 308 or the 300 mark. So you could possibly get away with doing that. And you no longer outrun Starmie or Bulky Dug, but that's fine. Bulky Dug isn't really used much by the player base anyway. It's a lot rarer than it used to be on Special Offense, particularly because Fast Dugtrio has so much utility now. And with mixed offense everywhere, and Fast Dug being so good into it, there's a lot more incentive to run Fast Dug. So, like, the Timid versus, it doesn't matter. I think you should run Modest, like, all the time. It's so much better. The power differential is very, very, very significant. And also, because you're using Dugtrio of your own, also, I mentioned Adamant Dugtrio. Adamant Dugtrio is even better with Raikou because you completely kill Tar, you completely slaughter Celebi, and, like, Blissey, you know, you could just EQ it and then kill it later on. and you're gonna have like your own T-Tar, so it's a very good mon. The alternative to Raikou is Jolt. So if you're going to run like a fast electric, don't run Raikou, run Jolt. Now, Jolt does have some disadvantages to Raikou, significantly less bulky, for example. However, Jolt is the only Pokemon in the game besides Electrode, lol, that actually ties Arrow, and it outruns Dugtrio as well, so it has a lot of speed utility. It also always outruns even like some niche fast Pokemon, so it's always outrunning like Sceptile, for example, Alakazam. It's always outrunning Dugtrio itself. Also, it has the +1 DD Tar utility too, by extension. But it's the fact that it outruns Off-Me and Gengar, for me, where its best utility comes in. Because you don't have to rely on Dugtrio as much to trap the Starmie, when you have Jolteon that just revenge kills it. And obviously, Jolteon is a really good abuser of special offense, because oftentimes Jolt's biggest issue are like the weird wall Pokemon that just come in status. But you could just remove them with Dugtrio. Again, we were talking about Adamant Dugtrio with Raikou. Adamant Dugtrio is really good with Jolteon too, because it destroys like Registeel, it destroys like some of this other bullshit. You don't have to worry about N-Pert too, that's other utility that you have, you revenge kill N-Pert. So you can get away with having like a slower Dugtrio because you have like this fast Pokemon that like beats and revenge kills some other stuff. It's really good, but it's a bit more specific Jolteon. Also, Jolteon should always run Substitute. Like, Sub-Jolt is just really good on the style, because Jolteon is really good at forcing switches, and it itself, Also, another reason why Adamant Tar is good with it, this thing lures BKC Tar super, super, super well. And if you get BKC Tar in, it dies to Adamant Dugtrio. It's dead. It's so dead. So, this is one of the best BKC Tar lures in the entire game. Period. And that opens the door to, like, some other stuff, like Weather Clear. Obviously, you have the whole Crocoon thing. So, there's a lot of potential with Jolteon, I think. It's really good. I'm briefly going to talk about some of, like, the leads for Special Offense. So, Special Offense has 3 prominent leads. One is Zapdos. Zapdos is the most popular. The others would be the Water-type leads. So you have lead Suicune, which runs Salicberry. This is a set that Blues came up with. He has his own spec-off team that's pretty good, pretty iconic as well. And the whole thing with this Suicune is that it takes a hit from Zapdos, and it can revenge kill Zapdos, like, after the fact. It's a pretty good lead. There's another Water-type lead, which is Lead Mystic Water Starmie. This is something that Spreak used a lot during his ladder runs. It's really good. So this Starmie runs Hydro Pump, Ice, you know, the regular off-me coverage. But in the last move, it's Light Screen. Light Screen has some very neat utility. Opens the door with, like, Bliss, too. So this is a really excellent lure for Bliss, as long as it's not Calm Mind. But if it starts Calm Minding, you can just switch into your BKC Tar. You get a free switch in the sand and shit. This Starmie... The thing is about the Water-type leads is the Water-type leads aren't trying to survive into the game. The whole thing about the Water-type leads is that they're trying to force a special wall and hit it as hard as it can. And then, once the special wall is weakened, it either gets trapped by Dugtrio, or it gets removed later on. That's the whole purpose of Water-type leads. They are just sent in, attack, 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 and kill the enemy. That's what Water-type leads do. You're not really switching with Water-type leads that much. Unless you're using Vaporeon. So Vaporeon, lead Vaporeon's whole thing changed because Salic Pass was obviously banned with the whole Speed Pass thing. It's pretty unfortunate. There's a lot of like controversy about like the Speed Pass thing because a lot of people were saying that Salic Pass Vaporeon wouldn't be broken. But I'm honestly kind of happy that it's banned because there is an actual broken item that this thing can wield, and that's Quick Claw. Which is obviously very cheesy, very stupid, but oh man, Quick Claw is evil. I have felted people on ladder with this before. It is completely evil. It lets Vaporeon kill things that it shouldn't if you get the Quick Claw. So, like, for example, if you have, like, a paralyzed Vaporeon versus, like, a Mence and a Zard, and then you Quick Claw and felt them, funniest shit in the world. It also makes people very mad. But what Vaporeon's thing is, if you're unaware, is that it leads off versus, like, T-Tar or Meta and just destroys them with Stab Surf or Stab Hydro. You could use Hydro. I prefer Surf because we were talking about, like, the accuracy thing. Vaporeon is already so strong. It has the same special attack as Empoleon. It's already so strong that you don't really care about Hydro as much. But Hydro makes it hit like a truck. My issue with it is, like, stacking multiple Hydro Pump Mons could be a bit sus. But if we're gonna use, like, special offense, I guess you might as well use Hydro, right? The main thing about Vaporeon is that it sets up 101 subs, so it can take, like, a Seismic Toss or whatever from Bliss, making the trap to Doug a lot easier. There are some other leads, too. Here's Jinx, who is the special offense lead. If you don't know what Jinx does, if you've never played ADV before, which I think everyone who's watching this video plays ADV. Jinx puts things to sleep, and then you either throw something at it to trade with it or whatever. So Jinx is really stupid. Jinx's entire thing is sometimes Lovely Kiss misses and you're felted and you're down 5-6, and it feels really bad when that happens. Other times, it does what it's supposed to do. It sleeps something, it trades with something else, and it does its job. But there are those instances where Jinx sleeps something, and then crits something, and then freezes something else, and then Jinx wins the entire game. I think everyone who's played this tier for a lengthy period of time has gotten felted or 6-0'd by Jinx at least once. Because of the nature of how it plays, how it works. It's just a very oppressive mon. But it's also very inconsistent because you actually have to hit Lovely Kiss and you need things to go your way. So it is an inconsistent Pokemon by nature. It also doesn't have any defensive utility, which is why my favorite Jinx set right now is Endure. Why did my music stop? What just happened? Is my OBS working? Okay, it is. That's weird. That freaked me out for a second. My favorite Jinx set to run right now is Endure. And Endure is specifically for, like, lead max speed Mence that thinks it's cocky enough to stay in and try and kill you. It also means that if you lead off versus lead Dugtrio, it's like, no. You will be put to sleep, Dugtrio! That's mostly what Endure Salic is for. It's to make sure that you get the sleep off versus the Doug teams. So you completely turn the tables on those. But the traditional set would be something like this. Leftovers, sub, just like mono Ice Beam, right? But there has been like some variation on Jinx sets. I know that H-Clat had something like this, where it was like 310 speed, 104 HP. I think it was something like this. And what this allows you to do is, I think Jinx survives Pursuit Tar Crunch, Swampert EQ, and like something else. And I think it has like better roles to survive like Skarm Drill Peck. So like Skarm Drill Peck is at 2 at KOing you, I think, with this. But Jinx has also run like a variety of moves in the past. You used to see like taunts on Jinx that felt like defensive Jirachi. You've seen like a hidden power fire to get like a bigger hit on meta. You've seen a few experimental things, but I think the best sets are the bulky substitute set and the Salix set. Those sets are very good. I think that covers the leads. Oh, Jolteon can also lead as well. But I think that covers the leads. Yeah. That's it on that. There's one last Pokemon that we're going to talk about. One that I forgot to talk about earlier. And that is Gengar. Good old Gengar. So Gengar has a ton of defensive utility on Special Offense. Because it is a toxic immune that's massive for the style. It's a Doug immune, so it can come in and mess with other Doug teams. Just a very good Mon in general for the style. Has a ton of utility. It just does the Gengar stuff. Now, what I'll say about Gengar is that I think that Gengar needs Hypnosis with Doug. And the reason why is a lot of Gengar's best checks on Spec Off are like Pursuit Tar, Defensive Rachi. If those get put to sleep, you could just throw the Doug trio at them and then they're dead. That's it. Especially if you have Adamant Doug. We keep talking about Adamant Doug, but trust me guys, Adamant Doug trio is really good. I've tested it. I've gotten 1700 3 times in the past week with the Adamant Doug thing. It's really good. And you know, Hypnosis is just really annoying to play around. It's really stupid. Especially with Doug. Doug, it's completely nasty. And I think the best coverage is to run, like, Thunderbolt, Ice Punch. Ice Punch hits Mence and all the flying Pokemon. T-Bolt hits, like, Skarm and all of them. But nothing is set in stone, per se. Especially, like, the EVs. EVs, you could run, like, a variety of sets. I swear, there used to be a Cowboy Dance set that was like this defense. It was something like this. It's like 80. And then, or maybe it was something like this, where it lived Mence, and it also O-code it. It was something like this. I think this was the spread. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I swear this was the Cowboy Dan spread. Cowboy Dan, like a few years ago, created a Gengar set that lives Mence, like bulky Salamence, a large majority of the time, and O-codes it. I think this is the spread, but I could be wrong. I think maybe it was like 104, 108, and then like more defense or something. But it was something like this. But any EV spread works. Like you could use the H-Clat spread, which is like this. And like, except it's with like Modest. I think like 308. And then this. That's like the H-Clat spread. You could use like the traditional Fastgar spread, which is like this. 44. It doesn't really matter. I think Hypnosis is mandatory, but you could also use like HP Grass if you wanted to. But Hypnosis, in my opinion, is the best thing to use on Gar. So, that concludes the video with Special Offense. I think it is A lot better than it used to be because of all the innovative stuff that I found with the style. It's really good. You guys should use it. I hope this guide helps you guys, like, build, like, successful teams with it. This was just to showcase, like, the best movesets and the best, like, possible strats that you can use of the style. I'll be focusing more on, like, team building in, like, another video. I just wanted to give, like, a blanket canvas of what you have to initially work with, and, like, what I think your best options are. I didn't go over, like, every single, like, niche Pokemon that works with the style. I just wanted to go over, like, the best possible options that you have. And that's really all I wanted to do. If you guys enjoyed this video, like it, I'm gonna try and upload a video, like, bi-weekly. There's no promises that I'll do that, but I will try and do that. So, if you guys enjoy the video, like it, I can't wait to make, like, more videos on, like, ADV and, like, the other tiers and stuff. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.